And this episode of the podcast is sponsored by David Shapiro, Remax Around Atlanta Realty. David Shapiro, Remax Around Atlanta Realty. He'll tell you about Uptown. He'll tell you about Downtown. He'll tell you about Clowntown. He'll tell you about Pound Town. Don't ask me about that one too much, though. David Shapiro, Remax Around Atlanta Realty. Excellent realtor in the Atlanta area. He does all your needs. You got somebody you need to come fix something for you. He's your guy. David Shapiro, Remax Around Atlanta Realty. Best realtor in the game around Atlanta. Tash, who the hell do we have on tonight?
Tonight, we had Leroy and John from the band Rosser from right here in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. Very just all over the place band, but great music. Everyone should get out and check them out. And very fun podcast. And as always,
roll the motherfucking tape.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Indiebnb. Today, we're joined by a local favorite for us out of Atlanta, the band Rosser. We got Leroy and John. How are y'all doing today?
Doing good.
Real good.
Glad to have y'all on. I'll turn this to Grant here for a second, kind of show how we came across y'all's path. I think it's one of the more interesting stories of how we kind of came across y'all.
I'd say it's one of my favorite ones. I'm on a bird going to Smithsville Bar. I parked it. It's a Friday night in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. And I am crossing the street, and I turn over to some people behind me. I'm like, "Are y'all going to see Pip the Pansy today?" And they go, "Fuck no. You're going to see the band Rosser. They're going to be playing Stadium someday." And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I went up, got a drink, and I was like, I'm not going to stay for this opener if I got some fucking Stadium band playing down in the Atlanta room. So I walked my ass down the stairs and had my face blown off by your band. And so I was immediately just like, dude, these are the guys. These guys rule. And I told Tash, and we featured you guys on the page and everything, and the rest is history. And here we sit. But you guys have a ravenous fan base. The guy was wearing it looked like a NASCAR or like a bowling shirt. So whoever the bowling shirt guy was told you things.
Yeah, we pay our crowd well. We got a lot of people on the payroll, and they're good people. We have a strict interviewing process, and once we get them, we keep them.
But yeah, I was fired up, and I was like, you know what? Whoever says that, this band's gonna deliver. I mean, shit, it was unbelievable.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for listening, and thanks for coming. I hope we didn't disappoint.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It was a great precursor. I went after y'all were done. I went upstairs, Pip the Pansy played, and I had a good evening. So it was great.
And that was a fairly interesting gig for us for many reasons. There were gremlins in the club that night, I think, or it was a full moon, or I don't know. And hopefully it sounded okay, and we put on a decent show. But man, we had more things go sideways during that show than I think we've ever had. Starting when Robbie, our drummer, was getting on stage. We walk out to some music, and Robbie goes first because he's the drummer. And, we had a pretty snug set, on stage that night. And so he's walking around the front of the stage, and then he goes to squeeze in between my amps and his drum set. And I had a stack of amps sitting there, and I have this beautiful vintage Dan Electro half stack that, it's from the 60s or something. And I had just literally that day got it back from the shop getting refurbished for the first time in its life. And I spent, all this money getting it totally re-gutted, redone, everything. So I'm like so excited about using that amp at that show. And so it's a cabinet that's on these really slick casters, like it's on wheels. And then I've got like my tweed fender, and I put that on top of the cabinet. And then the Dan Electro head goes on top of the fender. So it's this, stack of triple shit. So Robbie's trying to squeeze between my amp and his drum, and he loses his footing. And so he tries to brace himself on my amps, and they just roll right off the stage riser. And I'm kind of behind him, a few feet behind him with my guitar on. And I watch in slow motion as he pushes my amps off the stage. And then he kind of falls straight back. And he just fell back on his back like a turtle. And he was just kind of, and it all happened in really slow motion. And I'm thinking in that split second, do I try and save my amps, or do I try and keep Robbie from falling down and hurting himself? And I mean, I'm a good person, so obviously I'm like, I got to try and save my amps. But I couldn't. And so they went crashing onto these, this concrete floor 3 feet down. He's laying on his back. I've got my guitar, just like, we got a whole crowd behind us. And maybe you missed the very start of this show. I don't know. I don't know what it looked like from up there, but probably a circus. And so we hoist him up. He gets back. We pull my amps back on stage. The head of the Dan Electro, which is normally like a rectangle, like most amps are, was like a trapezoid.
Oh no!
And of course, it didn't work. And luckily, like the fender worked, because it's built like a tank. And so there's a commercial for always having redundant systems, at the show. Always have a spare. Anyway, so that was just how that show started. It was totally catastrophic, but we went on to, do our best.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of cool that we were on edge the whole time. It added another, dimension.
Yeah.
And now we know why Roster is having, open drummer tryouts.
Yeah, that was his first and last gig. No,
It didn't work out for some reason.
He's all right. He just slipped a disc. That's all.
Yeah, you can always get another drummer. You can't get another 60s, vintage amp. That's
Thank you. I'm
out of
quoting you on that and sending that to the rest of the guys, so I don't look like the only jerk.
Man.
Well, yeah, let's get into y'all's music. I was listening to y'all's new album today, and y'all, more than any band I think that we've had on, cannot be put into a box. I mean, it was like, if you'd have told me, blind, Pepsi Challenge, oh, this band's from the 80s, or this band's from the 90s, or this band's from the 2000s, or the 10s, or now even the 20s, I would have just been like, yeah, they're from the 90s. And, how do y'all accomplish that? How do y'all play so many different roles and, blend genres, but somehow still sound fluid as like the same band? It still sounded the same, but it's unbelievable. I was blown away.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah. Well, our writing is all collaborative, so I guess, by default, that's how it turns out. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird that we do have like a lot of 80s in our music, and certainly wasn't intentional. But
yeah, we don't go searching for like any particular era sound or anything. But I think, as John said, like we are 5 guys with wildly different influences and backgrounds and approaches, to music. And so I think it just it sort of shakes out that way. And then, we can't discount that our producer, Dan Dixon, is just a huge contributor to our music in a way. He kind of comes around, the tail end, right? We write the songs and get them all assembled and everything. And then we go into the studio, and he kind of just helps shape it a little bit, and then applies, some of his creative, alchemy to the sound that you wind up hearing on the record. And and then that helps kind of inform us after that, after we go into the studio, we've then come out of that with like a really crystallized version of our music. And so we'll always bring like another 10-15% out of that recording experience and then apply it. And then it's like, we're locked in. And so I don't know, man, I think it's just that we all just contribute such diversity over the decades, because we're all different age groups and shit. So I think like, we just naturally kind of have all those decades represented in our band and in our musical history, and that's what we bring to the table. Just kind of mix it in.
I was trying to the best that I could do to like pin it down was I thought it was y'all sounded like a mixture of like if you took all the members of Interpol and like dropped them in the Velvet Underground and we're like, all right, just go. And I pointed, like Loverboy to me sounds like it came out in the 80s. And then, we're gonna get it did come out in the 80s. Okay.
And we'll feel that sometimes, and we'll kind of lean into it. Like if we feel like, oh my God, that's so X, Y, or Z, it's like, we don't go searching for it, but if it happens, then we'll kind of lean into it and kind of say like, let's needle that a little bit more without trying to be like too much, it's not, you don't want to force anything or make it sound inauthentic or whatever, when too much is too much. So we still just keep it natural, but sometimes that's part of the fun. It's like, oh my God, that reminds us of the Fix, and we're like, yes, do that delay on that thing. And then it's like, oh my God. And it's still cool,
Yeah. But you're not sitting down and going like, all right, let's go out and try to sound like whoever. It's just, that just happened to sound like, whoever it might be and comes across. What does the writing process look like for y'all? Is it more y'all are all in the same room and jamming and kind of comes together, or does someone, come in and say, hey, I was at home and this sounded cool as shit to me. It's all this guy?
That's what this guy does. He's like a fountain. He comes in and he's all like, hey man, turns on the fountain. It's just like gush, 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 gush. All these awesome chord progressions and full songs, parts of songs, bits and pieces. You tell him.
Yeah, I come up with a lot of ideas that are mostly terrible. But it's nice that these guys are willing to listen. So I'll usually come in and play something on the guitar, get their feel for it. If nobody says anything, they're just being nice, and it's like, get out of here. And that, that happens a lot. But when they like something, then we just pile on. And it's funny too, because and it doesn't always work this way. I don't always bring the initial idea, but it's, it happens that way a lot of times. And so I'm a recording engineer too. So I have like a home studio set up. And, when I come up with some ideas, sometimes they're just on my phone, sometimes they're just in my head, but like a lot of times I'll sit down and demo them out at my house. And, and so I know what that sounds like in my head. And then when I bring it to the band, I come back that night like with a rehearsal tape, and it's just like, not only is it like 80 times better, but it's also way different. And it's, so I know like, I don't know how like Tame Impala or like the artists that are like one person that make beautiful music by themselves. I don't know how they do it, because anything I make is very one-dimensional, but I'm, glad to have a band that brings it to life.
So y'all don't run into a lot of creative control conflicts or anything?
A lot of fist fights.
It's healthy.
Yeah. No, it's an A part. No, that's a B part. Fuck you. It's an A part. No, it's all fun and yeah, there's tension, man, when we're trying to, come up with a bridge or arrange the song, or we're pretty respectful of each other about like not telling each other what to play or how you should play that or play this or do it that way or whatever. That doesn't happen, but we do get into arguments about, I don't know, like whether that's the bridge or that shouldn't be the bridge, or whether the song should end there or keep going or whatever. Opinions fly. And sometimes, we're pretty, I mean, this is just a blessing how prolific we actually are. And I don't mean we finish, all the songs that we start, but, this guy brings tons of raw material to the table, and we stand some ideas up, that John doesn't start either, just out of jamming, somebody just starts twiddling something, and then within 10 seconds the whole band is playing it together, and then it takes a left and a right, and then we're all like, okay, stop, look, let's record this, or let's talk about this as a part. And so it's like I've never been with a group that's just so prolific, with new ideas. We can't keep up with ourselves, honestly. It's hard sometimes just to we have to okay, wait, let's keep trying to finish that song we played last week. Because as soon as we get into practice, somebody starts playing something brand new, and then we're 30 minutes later playing that brand new thing. And it's like, hold on, we had that song from last week we're trying to finish, so we'll never finish anything without, applying some self-discipline.
Yeah.
But it's the fun part, it's just playing. So, yeah.
Always the bridge, isn't it, that gets everyone all riled up?
Oh man, it sure is. And damn, they're hard to find too. God, pretty good bridge is just a hard thing.
Yeah,
it's a hard possum to track.
It's always the second chord of the bridge.
Yeah, you're a smart man.
Well, yeah, let's we do a little segment to do a song spotlight, and we chose Tiny Hotspot, and so y'all take us through that song from, the way I like to describe it, it didn't exist to it's, it's a finished product and everything in between.
Okay. I know, okay, so I remember where I was when I came up with the main guitar part that you hear at the beginning, which is like the rhythm guitar. So it's probably not the part that the ear drags to, because he plays all the good stuff. But I was working at a studio, and there was a guy there, a guitar player there, that had some cool vintage guitars, and he left them overnight. And so it's like wrapping cables up, finishing the session as an engineer, as assistant engineer, in fact. And he was like, you can play any of these guitars you want. So I picked up, it was an old Gibson, I think maybe Junior, something cool, something real simple. And that that chord progression came out right then and there. And I remember the engineer was mixing the day's work in the other room. I was in the recording room. So I shut the door and got my phone out and recorded it on the electric guitar, not plugged in, so you could barely hear it. And I don't know how many weeks later it was, but then I brought it to these guys, and from there, I don't know.
I remember that. And you pulled out I think our first song we ever maybe wrote in completion. Maybe
it might have been Strange. It might have been the second.
Oh yeah, okay. Strange is probably the first one. So this is now going, but we're digging 4.5 years ago now or something. So I do recall though, that chord progression he's talking about is, if you listen to that track and listen, not the guitar that's going jank jank, but the dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
It's kind of jazzy. It's got this sort of swing, and he's sliding chords and all this stuff. So he brought that to the table, and it was, I don't know, it did not take long where I recall thinking when I was listening to that, I don't want to play something obvious rhythmically on this, because it's such an elegant and sort of weirdly complex progression. And I think I was thinking about either the Clash or Police or something like that. And I was trying to find the beat in that progression, and I'm like, jank, jank, jank. And Kevin right away picked up on a beat. And suddenly we had this thing that was so tricky that we're just like, oh my God, it felt like we just jumped on a car going 80 miles an hour, and we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it just had this bop, and it was slinky and slithery and really pop, it had a pop and a catch to it. And man, that was an awesome little assembly. And then between there and Leif, he just spits lyrics out like I've never played with a guy as lyrically and vocally talented as he. And one of the things that makes him so good is that the rhythm of his phrasing. It's not just that he sings really great. It's not just that he writes really incredible, conceptual, colorful lyrics, but he also like rhythmically constructs lyrics like I've never met anybody or heard anybody do. And so where that song to me is all about rhythm. It's all this sort of syncopated kind of, stuff. And I mean, he just slapped something right down. And then to me, that song, the other part of it that I just, will take to my grave is the little guitar solo that I play in there. It's meant to be sort of like it's almost a parody of guitar solos, because we're kind of past the era of guitar solos
and guitars.
I mean, they keep trying to come back, and maybe they will, but that's a real like fuck you guitar solo. Tried to make it just as like trashy and like bad, but kind of like as good bad as I could, just that's my face when you're listening to it. I'm just going, Anyway, so it all just kind of came together into something that we wanted to, we thought was a really fun song and a foot tapper. Yeah. So that's all I can recall.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it's beyond a foot tapper. I mean, it made me dance a little bit, I can't imagine it live. Grant was fortunate enough to get to see it live. So,
yeah, it's definitely a foot tapper. Maybe a little bit of a headbanger. I mean, a little bit sore, but yeah, it was something else. But I want to talk about the video. You guys have a few videos online, and that's one of them. And it seemed like the overall theme in y'all's videos is like grungy, dirty pool backyard.
Hey, you work with what you got.
Yeah. That's our environment.
That was, what's y'all's process with creating the videos for these couple songs that you guys got online, Tiny Hotspot? I mean, what's that look like? So
he's the guy that makes it happen. We just show up and do what he tells us to do, more or less.
We all benefit from plenty of things that each other does professionally or otherwise in this band, like him being an engineer and knowing the way around recording and stuff like that. So for years and years I was a video producer director. It's something I did professionally for a long time, and so that's something that now I don't do that professionally anymore. So I still get to do it for the band. And I'm not too lazy to, get all my equipment out of storage and spend a whole, couple of weeks grinding away on, editing and stuff like that. But so, I shoot and edit all the videos, which gets tricky when I'm in the band too. And so it's kind of like, hey, when do I get to be in front of the camera, or, figure out a way to use the tripod so that we can all be in the shot, or hand it to one of the guys and say, just, go crazy and kind of, do a little direction before we shoot. But conceptually, you know, our sort of approach is always about like, let's just find the right setting. That's what I learned being a video director and having to, like, you know, not having $1 million budgets, is like, just pick a cool place and then, you know, kind of try and get some sort of wardrobe right, you know, just get kind of just set the table and then just go crazy, you know, hit record. So it's all about finding a good spot and then, you know, then just letting it happen. So, you know, I think that we've got our aesthetic is very much about like what we see as like the old school in town Atlanta scene. You know, there's just kudzu everywhere. There's moss growing on shit. There's bricks, you know, old houses and crinkly old tennis courts and, you know, swimming pools and stuff. So we just have tried to use what we can get access to in order to sort of, you know, paint a good visual. And then, you know, we just try and look cool in front of the camera after that. You know, so, you know, it's just it's really working with very little and trying to make something of it.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that's an awesome, like, the benefit of benefiting from each other just professionally.
Yeah,
that's an awesome. You're the first one who's actually, and we've talked to you, like, has done these, you know, done shoots. And most people are like, yeah, our friend is like a, you know, videographer, like not somebody actually in the band. So that's super unique.
Yeah, I'd rather somebody else do them. If you know anybody, send them our way.
we'll keep an ear out. We'll keep an ear out. But where'd you guys do where is the dirty tennis court and all that stuff from? I think it's Rabbit's Foot. Is that one?
Yeah, Rabbit's Foot. So Justin, our bass player, actually, this is bonkers, but he bought this house a couple of years ago that was, you know, pretty run down. It was kind of like this a little bit of a shabby, you know, compound kind of thing. And so, you know, it came with this decrepit old tennis court and this cracked old swimming pool and this big old house. It's bonkers, man. It's like I just feel like Hemingway hung out there, you know. but yeah, so he picked that thing up. You know, he flips houses and stuff, and that was just kind of one he discovered because he finds deals like that. That's a talent of his, and he picked it up, and that's become sort of our home base.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
very cool.
It's where we rehearse now too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, we rehearse in this big, you know, stripped living room that's like, you know, kind of stripped down to the studs almost, but it had all this awesome old vintage wallpaper, so he kept that up, you know. So we've got this sort of half, not even renovated, kind of weird mansion-y kind of place. It's very Southern Gothic, you know, and we just get to spread out in this big old living room of this place and play. Yeah,
I should have a show there.
Oh, he wants to.
We've had a couple performances on the tennis court, like at the beginning of COVID. We thought, yeah, this would be great, you know, play outside. People can come and celebrate art when we're all locked down. And of course, the neighbors got pissed and yelled. You could hear them over the trees, like, "Shut the fuck up!" But you know, we tried. But yeah, and actually in Rabbit's Foot, like the guy that's playing tennis, right, when he starts dancing, he's in that room with that chandelier, and that's like the room adjacent to our living room. So you can kind of get a flavor. All those shots were done in and around that house. So you see all that cool wallpaper in those shots and stuff. And Kevin playing on the toilet in the blue bathroom.
I mean, that's awesome that y'all, the setting is not somewhere where y'all just like, you looked on Craigslist. This is your guy's house.
Yeah.
Or one of his projects. That is super cool. But yeah, with that, I mean, let's dive into a little Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. So we'll go John and then Leroy, and then so that way y'all know who answers first. Gonna be rapid fire, quick 20 questions. And here we go. Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. 20 questions right in a row. All right, let's kick it off with cake or pie. Cake or pie?
Pie.
Pie.
Pie. Okay. All right. Circus peanuts. You guys a fan of circus peanuts? The big
No.
orange peanuts you can get at the gas station.
No.
No. Yeah, no.
Hard no. Hard no.
Hard no. Hard no.
Yeah. Are aliens real?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What about Sasquatch?
Man, I don't want to say this publicly, but I don't think so. I don't know. Keep the dream alive. Yes. Sasquatch. At some point, yes. Maybe not now, but at some point, I'd say yes, there was Sasquatch.
Okay.
Yeah.
John?
Yeah. I think we're gonna see. He'll be in a video soon.
Okay.
It was a surprise.
He's in the-
Oh well, words out.
Like Travis
Read about it. Sasquatch coming soon. Watch a video.
I like it. I like it. All right. Is love at first sight real?
It's yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. I got proof in the next room.
All right. All right. Would you rather be a ninja or a pirate?
Ninja.
Pirate.
There you
Good
go.
question.
Donuts or bagels?
Bagels.
Bagels all the
I
way.
like a bagel.
All right. PBR or Bud Light? What are you getting a picture of?
PBR.
Yeah, PBR.
All right. You can catch them at Moe's and Joe's, ladies and gentlemen, any day of the week. Chips or pretzels?
Pretzels.
I guess I'm a chip man.
Wow. Good, mate. You're actually the first guy to ever say pretzels, so we're going to have to dive deep into that later.
Love
But TV or movie? When you sit down after a long day of playing music, are you sitting down for a movie or television show?
God, I don't even watch TV anymore, so I'd have to say movie. I don't know if there is TV. Is there still TV? Does that still exist?
Yeah, like Netflix, like a Netflix like TV show, like a 30-minute.
Yeah, Netflix. Can I answer Netflix?
They have both. I mean, I exclusively watch Curb Your Enthusiasm, so TV.
All right.
That's
Big
it.
Larry David fan. Okay. All right. I got two red or white questions back to back. One of them's the first one is red or white clam chowder.
White.
Yeah, white.
White. Okay. Red or white wine?
Red.
Red.
Red. All right. You have some white clam chowder with some red wine. All right. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Okay. Pants or shorts?
I like the shorts. I like the shorts.
I guess I'm a pants guy.
Pants guy. All right. Wings or tendies?
Tendies.
Yeah, tendies.
Okay. No bones. Ranch or blue cheese? What you rather have?
Blue cheese.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm a blue cheese. I'm a blue
All
cheeser.
right. All right. Local Atlanta question here. You like going to Terminal West or Variety Playhouse more?
Variety.
Yeah.
Variety.
Yeah, I'd rather go to Variety. Yeah.
Okay.
I love them both. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I'm more familiar and it's like comfort food.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's got more grunge on it.
Yeah.
Are robots going to take over the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think they already are.
Man,
Yeah. We just don't know it yet. I like it. Waffles or pancakes?
Waffles.
Yeah, waffles.
Waffles. All right. And finally, the final question, Pete Peterson's party pack of questions. Who are two artists from each of you guys who we don't know, who we should check out? Can be local, can not be local, whatever you want.
Well, it seemed as though you don't know Dan Dixon very well. So he's got a band called Please Please. So I will put a plug in for those guys because they're phenomenal.
Yeah. If you guys haven't heard of them, Lunar Vacation are great. They're from around here. I don't know them, but I love their music.
I've seen them on my Bands in Town for like 5 years now, and I like they've come up multiple times, and I don't know, I haven't gone, but
Check it out.
maybe that might be all the validation I needed.
They're awesome. They're so good.
I like it.
Okay, how about Westerman?
Westerman.
You know Westerman? Westerman?
Yeah.
Mr. Westerman.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're not local. I don't know where they're from.
I don't either. They're good though. Yeah. And then golly. Well,
Have you heard of Florida Georgia Line? I actually really like them. I'm not ashamed.
Told you we're eclectic.
Love them.
We respect it. We've had multiple influences. We're like, yeah, Katy Perry freaking rules. We're like, yeah, we agree. You don't have to exclusively listen to the same kind of music in order that you make.
Yeah.
I jumped in your way.
No, I don't. I'm just scanning my brain for anything you guys might not know, but you probably all know more than I do. I don't know if you've never not listened to any of Keith Richards' solo records over the past 5-10 years. Check those out.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I got Please Please, Lunar Vacation, Westerman, and some Keith Richards solo action. So we appreciate those recommendations. Don't be surprised if we tag you and say, "Hey, Roster told us to check you guys out," and we go from there. That's kind of how we build this deal. So we appreciate you enjoying the Pete Peterson party pack of questions. You guys conquered it really, really well.
Most fun I've ever had on Zoom.
There you go. TBD, wrap us up, brother.
Yeah. John, Leroy, thank you all so much for coming on, spending some time with us. For all those who are listening, get out there and listen to Roster. They have an album called Roster. It's out there pretty much everywhere. So go listen to them and you'll have a good time. But thank y'all so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right, y'all
Best of
take
luck
care.
to you. Hope to see you again soon.
Take care.
All right, you too. See y'all later.